Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesday. It's September 9th, 2025. We're glad you're with it. We're glad you're with us this afternoon. Please note this event is being recorded and will be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For everybody on Zoom, feel free to enter your contact information. Tell us who you are, position you're looking for, give us your LinkedIn address, your email address. If you've got companies that you're looking for help with, list those. And if you have companies you can help other people with, please list those too. This is a great opportunity to connect with other people who are on the call today, because that's what LinkedIn is all about, connecting with other people. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched careerusa.org to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I usually have copies with me. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the prior leader landed a job. We've got a great program coming up this Friday, which I think will be really interesting for everybody who's got a LinkedIn account. And since 2017, I've been a member of the PIT crew, also known as the Practice Interview Team. Don't wait until you actually have an interview. Practice early, practice often, schedule your interview. Just go to dallaspitcrew.com for more information. Well, we have 4 outstanding speakers who talk about LinkedIn. They each talk about LinkedIn in a little bit different way every month. We appreciate them helping us out. Today, our speaker is Ruth Lipsky. She works for Lee Heck Harrison. She works for job seekers on a daily basis. And today she's going to talk about LinkedIn tools for job seekers. So Ruth, thank you for being with us, and it's all yours.
Thank you so much. Appreciate everybody being here. And as always, appreciate everything that you're doing, Jeff, for us to ensure that we have access to information that is going to be interesting and helpful. So, we're going to be talking about LinkedIn basics and what you need to do with your LinkedIn profile in order to get the attention of recruiters, in order to be able to find the information that's going to make them most interested in you. And you've got some goals on LinkedIn. You need to be able to give your values. You need to be able to put in your skills. You need to be aware of what search engine optimization means on LinkedIn and where the information makes the most sense to be placed. But you can't forget that humans are going to read this also. So if we're taking all of those things into account, they give us something that is going to be authentic. It's going to be something that is going to read as if it is not artificial intelligence and has not been written by ChatGPT, but is really a sincere definition of who you are, what you can do, and why you're the best fit for the type of role you're looking for. So with that in mind, we're going to start at the top of your LinkedIn page and we're going to move down, talking about the headshot and the headline, then the hashtag open to work. We'll spend some time on the about section, the experience section, and the skill section. So the profile picture is the first thing that people see when they come onto your profile. And it needs to be just one person. You don't need to have your dog in it. You don't need to have your arm hanging off of it because you're hugging somebody that was at a wedding picture. Just you. You need to be looking at the camera, not gazing off into space. It needs to be direct, straightforward. Smiling is nice. It is not required, but it does give more of a friendly tone to your picture. Don't tilt your head because quite often a tilted head indicates a subservience. Used to be used a lot with women in pictures that were supposed to be more feminine, tilting the head, but it does expose your jugular and makes you look as if you are not really managerial experience ready. And the clothing that you're wearing, let's just make sure that those are clothes that would be appropriate for the job that you're in. So, leaving through all of that, let's take a look at the background picture, which is that large area. It's at the top of your profile page. It's a big rectangle. You can use the camera icon in the upper right-hand corner of that rectangle to upload a branded picture. The picture that you have in that background is going to be something that is going to give an immediate impression of who you are, what you're doing, what your industry is, what kind of skills you have. And don't use the ones that LinkedIn is suggesting for you. They are overused. They don't tend to give any additional information about who you are and what you can do. And if you need suggestions, just go to Google Images, type in LinkedIn background, and you'll have thousands of rectangular pictures there. Link, Google does have some filters that you can use, and it's got a search bar filter so that you can put in some specifics about industry or title or skills that you might want to have. If you don't want to have a picture in the background, you can always use a quote. And a quote is going to be something that is an indication of your philosophy, of how you work in a business environment. It's going to generally be something that is inspirational, but you can also find those at Google Images, all sorts of stuff there. But you do need to have something that is unique to you in that background. Now, the headline, most important part of your profile. And that's because the LinkedIn algorithm takes a look at that and says, you have a limited amount of space. This must be really important stuff that you're putting in here. I am going to give that more weight in the algorithm than any other part of this profile. It's the only part of your profile that LinkedIn gives to recruiters. When recruiters are doing a search on the LinkedIn recruiter software or just as part of the search in the search bar for somebody outside of that software, they're going to come with a list of people who fit the search that that recruiter is doing. And the recruiter is normally going to be saying, I want this title, want this geographic area, want these skills. And LinkedIn is going to give them thousands of people who match that. However, the only information that LinkedIn gives a recruiter for a search is the headline. Oh, it'll give your headshot, it'll give your geographic location, it will give your the titles of your last two jobs, but you don't have much room there to be able to say anything specific except by putting it in the headline. You've got a limit of 220 characters, so there's a limit to how much you can say about yourself, but you're going to use it to show titles that you're looking for, something about your personal brand, maybe some expertise, a value proposition, but don't use any special characters. LinkedIn does not look at special characters, emojis, in the same way that most other algorithms would. It tends to ignore them, it tends to confuse them with other things. If you have special characters or emojis anywhere in your profile, it's probably not going to be found as readily by recruiters. So keep those out everywhere, but particularly the headline. They're better things to be able to say. So, what should the headline look like? Normally, you have a title or two separated by a pipe, the straight up and down thing above the enter key. And then you can put in some skills that you have. Or you can have two or three titles and then having a accomplishment statement of saying accomplishing X through Y or using X to increase or decrease Y. So you're putting a value statement rather than just a set of skills. Some examples of that. If you have skills that are the main reason that a recruiter is going to want to be talking to you, put those right up in your headline. For a full stack application developer, they're going to want the recruiter to know that they have understanding of certain software, certain types of technology. Put those up there to make it easier for the recruiter to be able to find you and recognize that you've got those skills that they're looking for. If you have a title that is more broad, a business analyst could be just about anybody. You need to put in some additional information that distinguishes you from everybody else who may have a similar title. So, business analytics and data solutions, cost cutting strategist, data scientist, putting in what it is you do, how you do it, customer experience manager. Putting in numbers can also be a strong way of catching attention because recruiters are swayed by numbers rather than, I have these skills. Now you're saying, I have these skills and this is how I've used them to support my company. Global marketing manager, being able to put in more of a strategic statement about what you do. Customer relations, innovating customer satisfaction one experience at a time. Not necessarily skills in here, but this is more of a high level statement of this is how I can change your company or move your company in a direction that is probably going to be where you want to be. So your headline area needs to demonstrate to a recruiter what you can do that is going to bring you to the top of their list and to their interest. Location is still important. We're seeing more and more people putting a location of United States, and LinkedIn does not like that as a location because it doesn't know what to do with it. Even if a company is looking for a remote person to fill a job, LinkedIn's algorithm is going to force a location into the algorithm. It won't be as highly ranked, but LinkedIn is going to assume that location either close to the company headquarters or within the same geographic area or within the time zone are going to be preferred measurements. So a location you can put in, but if you leave it as United States, you're not going to be found as easily by recruiters. Put in a metropolitan area because that's going to be a higher priority for the algorithm. Not sure why, but we do know that metropolitan areas always come up on top of searches that just have a city associated with them. So the order on that, best metropolitan area, not bad, but okay, is a city. Don't put United States, even if it means you're willing to relocate, even if it means you're willing to work remote. That information belongs in your About section, not in the Location section. Industry. We used to be able to change the industry, and LinkedIn had 140 different industries. Now it's changing over to the NAICS model that has 1,170 different industries. It has not made that change yet, and there's some thought that they may be backing out of that because the beta test did not go as well as they expected it to, but you can't change your industry right now. Hashtag open to work. Lets recruiters know you're available. It is the first filter recruiters use when they're doing a search on the LinkedIn recruiter software. They want to know that you're available, that you can easily be scheduled for an interview, and that if they offer you a job, you'll be able to move in fairly quickly. And there are ways that you're able to set that up. And first part is that you're allowed to have up to 5 different job titles. The titles that you put in this open to work area are treated the same as your headline. In other words, it is a very high match potential. It'll allow you to say what kind of location you want to be working in, if you're on site, what geographic area you want, if you're willing to work remote, what larger area. types of preferences. The big thing on this is generally, do you really want to show it to everybody, or do you really just want to show it to the recruiters who are using the LinkedIn Recruiter software and it's more hidden? That's going to depend on what your outcome needs to be. Normally, the higher up you are in an organization, the less likely you are to want to use that hashtag open to work around your headshot. Let's talk about how that really does work. Putting the green banner on a public setting, there are some negatives that people are still believing. And one is that there is a perception of desperation, and that recruiters, some hiring managers, still view this negatively, that you don't want to admit that you are no longer working. A lot of these people are from the era over 15 years ago, where if you were part of a layoff, it was because you were the low performing person. In the last 15 to 17 years, that has not been the case. Mergers and acquisitions have taken whole groups of people out and said, we don't need you anymore. We've got that function covered in the buying company. COVID, going through the pandemic, companies had to restructure for financial reasons in order to survive the pandemic. Groups of people got laid off there simply because they weren't part of the core business, weren't needed in order to support the base business moving through that era. So being in a negative is not as common as it used to be. So uh, people who are concerned that there could be a desperation or reputation damage, probably only about 25% of the recruiters right now. Most recruiters and hiring managers look on the positive side of it, in that LinkedIn said that there is no real problem with being unemployed. There's no real shame to it. You got laid off. There are a lot of reasons you could have gotten laid off, but you were probably a pretty high performer anyway. So LinkedIn is going to provide you with additional oomph and activity. It's going to show you to recruiters more frequently. It's going to give you more messages, and it's going to be a better opportunity to network. So, although some of that negative perception is still out there, it's really being overcome by a lot of positives where recruiters and hiring managers are interested in finding people that are able to start quickly and move on. You've got an area underneath that headshot area, headline area that's called analytics. And it's a good thing to keep aware of because it shows how many profile views you've had. If you are posting, what kind of input are you getting? How many search appearances are you showing up in? You want, there is no absolute number that you're going to be aiming for on this, but as you're setting up your LinkedIn profile, as you are continuing to improve it, you want to see these numbers be rising steadily. If you see that they are going down in number, it means it's time to change things. LinkedIn ages everything in your profile. And if you don't have changes, if you're not updating, then it's going to be a little more difficult for people to be able to find you. So just watch those numbers, make sure they're going up. Now, the About section, you're going to talk about the successes you've had, about the experiences that you've had. You're going to use the keywords that you're finding in the job descriptions that are most interesting to you. So, as you're finding keywords that recruiters are using to describe the person they want to hire, move those into your About section and in your Skills section. But the About section has a higher priority because that's generally the section that recruiters are going to read. The first 4 lines have to grab somebody's attention because the first 4 lines can be seen without clicking on the See More section. So until they open it up, you're going to want to be able to encourage them and give them a reason They want to see more about you, and those first 4 lines are important. Now, paragraphs themselves should be no longer than 4 lines deep. So have a lot of very short paragraphs throughout your About section. If it's more than 4 lines deep, it becomes a wall of words, harder to read. People tend to skip over larger blocks of text and go to the smaller pieces of information. So put an awful lot of small paragraphs in your About section. So the template in general, begin with a hook. Make people want to see more. And quite often, your first paragraph is going to be your title with either X years of experience or extensive experience, if you don't want to put how long you've been in the business, in what field you're in, and then I help companies do something. So being able to indicate who you are, what field you're in most comfortably, but then put in something that says, this is what I do best. Hire me, I'll do it for you too. Discuss the current role, your key skills, and use the skills that are important for your next job. Talk about achievements using numbers because numbers and metrics are more believable and they indicate the type of activity and the strength of that activity. But don't forget that those non quantifiable results can be pretty powerful too. Highlight the value you bring. LinkedIn allows you to talk about both your technical skills and your managerial skills. So, both technical skills and soft skills. If you are in a position where you need to work with people, then you need to have the soft skills like building relationships or communication or influence in order to show that you can get along with people as well as do your job from a technical standpoint. You can also put in a statement at the end of your About section that gives a little bit of your personality. Their recruiter is going to be looking at 100 different profiles, looking for just the right person. And if you're the person that they see that at the end of the About section, that your goal is to see to ride the top 10 roller coasters in the United States, and you've got 4 more to go. That's something a little bit more memorable than all of the other technical information that might be out there. So a little bit of and here's who I am can be useful in your About section. Now, we talked just briefly about non-quantifiable accomplishments because a lot of people are concerned that what they didn't necessarily have numbers associated with them. So being able to say that you had some non-quantifiable accomplishments that still led to something positive in the company is a good thing to put in your profile too. Not everybody's got a lot of different numbers that they can be bragging on. Maybe that was something that was not captured, that there was no way that they could make even a guess as to what number would be associated with it. But if you did things that were important and were used by other departments or that were possibly training activities, put those into. Now, one of the things that we notice in the About section is that there are a couple different types depending on what it is you want to do next in life. Some About sections are going to be, I've done this job, I'm good at this job, I want to do it again. Then there are the About sections that are, I've done this job, but I could actually do a lot of different jobs. Here are a couple titles that I am looking at. And then your third type of About section is, I never want to do this job again. I'm switching to something else. And here's why. So let's take a look at what those types of About sections would look like. So the first one, looking for the same job, being able to say, here's who I am, what I do, here's my best statement on what value I add to the company. Then the next paragraph, a lot of skills. And notice they're not just listing them out. Here's a skill, here's a skill, here's a skill. It's more conversational, a little bit more friendly in tone. And then bottom, here's what I want to be doing. Let's talk. Now, if you're also looking for the same job, you can put in, here's the details of the things that I did well within that job. So with this person's about section, they're letting everybody know that there are three areas in a digital marketing strategist position that were particularly important, particularly strong for their company, and they're laying that out in more detail. So you can either keep it in a very general, or you can put in more detail on the accomplishments that you had. Okay. If you're looking for the same job, but you're an executive, that's going to look a little bit different. And in this case, having a overview of who you are, but then having key strengths. Key strengths for an executive need to be strategic and complex. They don't need to be things like leadership and communication. It needs to be the higher level skills that are associated with the activities that are unique to that role. The key here is going to be 3 to 5. Anything less than 3 key strengths means you're not broad enough. Anything more than 5, you've diluted down the impact of those 5 that you have. So 3, 4, or 5 key strengths. Same thing with impactful experience. Pick out the things you did best, 3 to 5 of them, write them up in the star format, and then put a heading as to what it is you're talking about. So strategic M&A integrator or program builder, but then having a statement. For an executive, sometimes you're going to be tied up with non-disclosure and you're not going to be able to put in a lot of numbers for fear of reputation damage to the company. So if you feel as if your non-compete or your non-disclosure is going to prevent you from talking about the skills in a particular manner, keep it a little bit broader. Now, if you've had a job, but you've had a fairly broad job and you want to look for a couple different titles, you're going to use a lot more of the about section. You've got a lot of room in the about section. You've got 2,600 characters. It's one of the biggest areas of LinkedIn. And in this case, we've got somebody who says, here's my background in general, but here are 3 different job titles that I could take. And here are the reasons because I've done this type of job before. Might not have had these job titles because a job title doesn't give you every piece of information. The job title is what the company tells you your overall responsibilities may be, but you can have a lot of different titles that broaden out from that. So if you're looking for more than one job because you've had a very broad experience, you can put those all into your about section. Now, if you want to change careers, you're always going to start out by saying, I had a job and I was good at my job. I am leaving this job or looking for something different, not because I was a failure, but because I want to build on what I did before. So in this case, I started out as an account manager, now looking for a technology switch. Then they're putting in some of the skills that translate into that area so that it's going to be a smoother transition and is going to require some amount of training, but you've got an awful lot that is already there that you can build on. Here's another example of changing careers. Started out as an airline pilot, now wants to go off into a different area. So being able to say, I was in this role, it was fine, no problem, but here's why I'm switching over to a different career and I'm moving into a different area for my next roles. Perfectly acceptable in the about section, and that's always going to be an interview question that comes up. I see all of your experience was in this area. Why are you moving into this as a new field? Putting it in your about section is going to answer that question and is going to make you more comfortable, the recruiter at least, more comfortable with the idea that you're bringing certain skills into this role, that are going to make it an easier transition. Any question on about or anything else that we've talked about so far?
Well, there's just one thing I need to add for the about section. Everybody has to have a call to action in your about section saying, feel free to contact me. Put in your email address, put in your phone number. A recruiter does not want to use LinkedIn InMail. They only have about a 9% chance of you responding. If a recruiter finds you, if somebody finds you, the first thing a recruiter is going to do is pick up the phone and call you. So put in your phone number. If you don't want to use your phone number, get a Google Voice number, but put in a call to action. Feel free to reach out to me. Here's my email address. Here's my phone number.
That's a real good point, Jeff. Recruiters are not comfortable contacting you through LinkedIn. They would much prefer to get to your personal email or to a phone number because they know that you're going to be answering and be paying more attention to any communication that comes through those channels. Always the very last sentence in your about section. Above that would be willing to relocate, willing to travel, willing to work on-site, hybrid, or remote. Putting that information in the about section at the bottom is going to be important, but the very last line always going to be, feel free to contact me at, as Jeff said, if you're not comfortable with a phone number, get a burner phone, get a temporary one so that people can contact you. Okay, Jeff, anything else? That was a good one.
No, that's it. That's my number one pet peeve of people on LinkedIn. I have for people join my Friday meeting and they'll just put in their LinkedIn address and I look them up and there's no way to contact these people. So, it's like, why are you on LinkedIn if you're not making it easy for somebody to reach out to you?
And be aware that recruiters are going to take whatever easy steps, whatever shortcuts they have available to them, and being able to contact you is a big one. Okay, thank you.
Jeff, do you recommend putting it at the top where they can see it without opening the section? Or Ruth, either one?
One of the speakers recommends it at the top. I recommend at the bottom because quite frankly, somebody's probably going to open up your about section. If they're interested in you, if you've caught their attention, they're going to open up the about section to read more. So as long as you don't have
Okay.
6, 7, 8 lines of text all together and you make it easy for somebody to know who you are, it'll work out fine. If you look at my profile, you'll see I actually have my phone number and my email address in my banner photo. So you
I
don't
do
even
too.
have to
Yeah.
open up the about section. You'll see me, you'll
Right.
see it when you call up my profile.
Thank you.
I agree with Jeff. The first four lines of the About section are the things that a recruiter will see before they click that I want to see more of this About section. And you need to be more convincing than just putting in a phone number or an email. That's not why you want to engage a recruiter. It needs to be something stronger and more associated with their hiring decisions.
And I will
But that was
say
a good
there's
question.
I will say there's no right or wrong way how to do this. You just you just have to fully complete a LinkedIn profile to make it easy for somebody to know what you do and how you can help them.
Good point. Okay, let's take a look at the experience section. It's going to be very similar to what you have on your resume. So have you put in an end date? Normally that's between 2 to 3 months. And LinkedIn does give you some options on what you do after you put that in. And one of them is you can add a career break, where LinkedIn is going to say, here are some options on why it is I'm not actively working right now. Your other option is to create a placeholder job that is going to look as if it is a full-time job and allows a recruiter to be able to see that you are employed at this moment. Recruiters have a choice when they are working through their search. And one of the things that they normally do is they say, I am looking for these skills in the most recent job that this person has. And if you don't have a most recent job, if you just have a career break, you're not going to be found. So putting in a most recent job that is obviously a placeholder, but contains information and skills that you've gained over the years is going to allow recruiters to find you. And James, you had a question on that?
Yeah, it was I've always been told to have your resume and your LinkedIn be consistent. And so if you're handing in a resume, like does that include that optional ex or that placeholder experience? That would seem kind of, I don't know, it seems disingenuous to and I've just always, and I say that to say this, I'm always focused on being sincere and truthful. I'm trying to figure out how that rings to people, and this is the first time I'm hearing this.
The resume does not need it because the algorithm in the applicant tracking system that's looking at the resume is not trying to find words that are in your most recent job. LinkedIn does. So your resume needs to have the actual jobs, the actual time frame, and whether you are still working in that job. You don't need a placeholder. But on LinkedIn, in order to get around that one type of search that recruiters do on most recent skills, you do need it. And being obvious about this is not a real job, this is a job I'm putting in there simply to show that I'm looking for a job, which is a full-time job.
It's true.
Uh, Allows you to tell the recruiter in more detail what it is you're looking for and to be part of that search. You're only
Mav,
putting it in there because otherwise you won't be found by them.
so to follow up, what is the percentage of like this particular search? Like, is this like all the searches? Is this one particular search? I was trying to gauge an understanding of like the impact that this has. Is it
If you're in a technical job, it's about 100% that they're going to be looking for. I want a skill in the recent job that this has, and it needs to be an open position that you're considered to be really working in. Because if they're looking for somebody who has Python as a skill, they want somebody who has Python in their most recent job, that they're using it now, not that they used it 10 years ago.
Gotcha.
So that's part of the reason that they're looking for most recent skills. Now, if your most recent skills are account management and building relationships and internal communication, that's not as important, and they're not going to use that as much. But still, that tends to be about 50% of the recruiters still using that because they just check it because it's automatic.
Okay. Well, thank you. That answers my question. Thank you so much.
You bet. Anything else on this one?
I can't figure out how to raise my hand, and I can't figure out how to make my camera work today, but I'm Dana Fox. And I have listed as my current job a side hustle. I'm a realtor. I've started my own real estate company, and that works. It's all pretty automated. I only have to spend about maybe 3 to 5 hours a week on it. And so I have that listed as my primary role now instead of, uh, because it is something I also do. Those skills in some ways line up to what I do, which is typically like chief people officer. So am I doing myself a favor, or do I need to rethink the bullets, or what is your advice on that, please?
That's a good thing to be able to say because having a part-time job answers the question of what have you been doing now that you've been laid off.
Mhm.
You're no longer working. What are you doing with your time? So having a side hustle in there looks good, but you also don't want to lose the ability and the skills that you've accumulated over those years. So you can also put in one of these placeholder positions to indicate that you're still looking for another job, and have them as the exact same dates so that because you can put them in the order that you want them to, and people aren't going to think that you abandon your search for a HR position in order to go into real estate.
So, okay, thank you. Very helpful.
Okay. All right. One of the things that you may want to do, titles are a huge, huge way that the algorithm finds people. They're going to try and find somebody that has either the exact title or a very similar title within that job family in order to bring that to the attention of the recruiter. So here's the problem. The title that your company gave you may not reflect what you did. It may not reflect everything that you did. So you're going to want to translate your company title into something that the recruiters are going to be able to understand and are going to give you more ways of being that exact job search. And one of the things that you can do for that is that you can go to your profile, and you can do this on your resume also. But in the experience section, at LHH, I'm considered a career consultant, but career coach is quite often more used in the industry. So I put a pipe in between those two to say, this is the same job, it's the same type of role. I'm just putting in other ways of indicating what I do. Your other option is when you have a title, and here it was Senior Manager of Training and Development, but in parentheses, put in the titles of the job that could have been your title if they had been more accurate and more granular at your company. So as the Manager of Training and Development, I had 12 people underneath of me, and we were moving the classroom training into the e-learning environment. And along the way, I became really good at instructional design and e-learning development, and I could take a job in either of those fields because of what work I did in this role. So if you were given a title that didn't actually reflect what you did or does not reflect what your next job wants to be, but you had that type of experience, put it in parentheses and put in a couple titles after that. The title is going to be an important part of the match that the algorithm is looking for. Give it as many opportunities as possible to be able to find you because you're in that job family. Now, education, putting in the classes, your college information, you can put in as much information in here as you want. If you are taking additional classes that are going to increase your skills, you can either put that into courses, or if you think that it needs to be highlighted more, you can put it into the education. Education is normally going to be the higher level college level classes that you've taken or certifications that you've had, but, but make sure you have that too. Skills. Do you know LinkedIn has identified 3,600 skills? It's identified 6,000 titles. Recruiters are going to be using that list of pre-identified skills and titles in their job search. They're not going to use the titles or the skills that they use internally to describe things. Use, whenever possible, LinkedIn's standardized titles, LinkedIn standardized skills. And within the skill section, they allow you to have 100 of them. 100 skills. That's a lot. You don't need 100. You might want to have 50, but you might not need 100. Managers need to have both the technical skills and the soft skills that indicate managerial experience, coaching and mentoring. And here's the difference. The human eye is going to be able to see all the skills that you've put in there. But when LinkedIn is looking for skills that the recruiter has indicated that they need for this new hire, LinkedIn will only show them the skill if you have at least one endorsement against it. So you may say you have all of these skills, but until somebody verifies it, LinkedIn will ignore it. So one of the things you'll need to do as you are continuing to add to the skills in this section is to ask your coworkers, your colleagues to endorse certain skills that you think are going to be important for the future. And the more endorsements you have, the higher LinkedIn feels that you have a capability in that. Okay, Dana, question?
Yes, Ruth, thank you. There seems to be a lot of debate about this in my world of if you want to continue skills, consecutive skills within job roles, or if you want them all to be different. And there's a camp of LinkedIn believers that say one way and a camp of LinkedIn believers that say another way. And so what are your thoughts on that?
Give me an example of that.
So let's say you have a skill of change culture or something like that. And should that be listed at every one of your positions that that was one of your specialties, or should you just list it specifically? Like, is it better to have the same skills multiple times or different skills for every role?
A good question. And yes, there has been a lot of discussion on that. I would defer back to how LinkedIn uses those areas. So at the very top of your profile, you're only allowed to have 5 skills, and those are going to appear up in the About section.
Mm-hmm.
So they only allow you to have 5 there. But in the other sections in your experience section, they give you almost an unlimited number of skills. And if they're going to give you an unlimited number, I would put an unlimited number of skills associated with that. So I would put it in every role that was appropriate. I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
try and stretch it in
Of
any
course, of
degree.
course.
But if you want to put 30 skills associated with a job that you had, I'd go ahead and do it.
Okay, thank you. Very helpful. Well, and then so if I'm hearing you right, it is also fair to repeat skills for positions also.
LinkedIn rewards you for repeating.
Okay,
So
perfect.
if you say that you have a skill and you mention it in your title or in your headline area and in your experience section and in your skill section, the more times you say you have a skill, the higher level of proficiency LinkedIn assumes that you have. And
Terrific.
LinkedIn can count up to 10. Most applicant tracking systems can only count up to 3.
Okay, thank you. So
So putting
helpful.
them, and the more words you have in your LinkedIn profile, the easier it is for a recruiter or for the LinkedIn algorithm to find you.
Thank you so
So
much. Very helpful.
LinkedIn wants you to say more and more and more,
But you just
which
said
is good because we have a lot to say.
you just said the ATS only sees 3. Did I
The
hear that
ATS can
correctly?
only counts up to 3. So if you
So it's
say
going to
that you
see
have,
the first 3?
it doesn't care. So
Okay.
when your resume goes into an applicant tracking system, the applicant tracking system has a list of words that are in that job posting that they want to see in your resume. And that's going to appear on the left-hand side of the recruiter screen as they're looking at Taleo or Work or whatever applicant tracking system they have. And they
Right.
will show the number of times you said each one of these keywords. And
Gotcha.
that's key on how high up in the search you appear. But
Thank you.
most applicant tracking systems max out at 3. Not LinkedIn, 10. You're aware that the skill order can be changed. You've got 3 dots up on the upper right-hand side of the skill section, and you can reorder them so that you can use the parallel lines on the side to move them up and down. The recruiter is going to be looking at those first 2 skills that you have on your profile page as being the top skills. These are your superpowers that you want people to know about. But when they open up that section, they're going to take a look at all of the skills that you have, but they're probably not going to scroll down very far. So being able to upload to the top area the job skills that are most important for you is going to be important because they're going to scan those and just move on from the ones at the bottom. Now, LinkedIn knows that there's no such thing as a perfect profile. Every person who looks at your profile is going to have a different view of how good it is, how it's going to stand up in the future, how you're talking about your skills. But LinkedIn does say that there is such thing as a complete profile. And if you have a complete profile, that makes you an all-star. And the all-star means that you've got a picture of yourself, that headshot, that you've got a location, that you've got an industry, which by the way, you can't change still, but it's going to be there. Your about section needs to have at least 40 words. You have to have a current position in the experience section, which is another good reason to add in that holding position. And you need to have something in your education section. And you have to have at least 5 skills. And if you have all of those, that makes you an all-star, and that does give you a bit of a nudge. It will put you to the top of other people who are otherwise equal to your skills in other areas. So all-star is not as strong as it used to be. It's not as compelling as it used to be. It used to bring you up really high in the algorithm, but as the algorithm has become more sophisticated and more complex, it's still a portion to consider. It might not necessarily be the biggest reason that you're at the top of the list, but anything that'll get you there, you need to know about. Okay, David, question?
Yes.
Oh,
If the profile is complete, will it indicate somewhere that you are a all-star if you have the designation?
It will. So up toward the top of your profile, it will
Mhm.
show if you are in an intermediate where you're missing 1 or 2 of these items. But as
Okay.
soon as you get to an all-star, it disappears altogether. So I can't
And
show it to you.
I don't think I see it on mine. Where would I look? At the
Uh,
top?
it would be at the top. Let me go to the profile. It would be right in this analytics area. It's not
Oh,
within this box, but it'll be either above it or below it.
okay, thank you.
But if you're an all-star, then it disappears.
Wait a minute. The all-star designation disappears?
The all-star designation disappears, so it's not going to say you are now an all-star.
Oh, that's what I was trying to ask. So
Yeah, so it's
because if I am an all-star, it won't say that.
that's
But if
correct.
my profile's incomplete, it will say how short it is or something
Yes,
like that. Oh,
exactly.
okay. There we go. Thank you.
Kind of backwards from the way I would have done it, but LinkedIn never listens to me anyway. So things we need to know about the LinkedIn algorithm as it relates to your profile and being found by their searches. Don't use special characters ever. Not in the About section. LinkedIn is famous and proud of the fact that it does not convert to different size devices or different, what you put on in an About section on a computer that is using Chrome is going to be completely different from what a recruiter is looking at on their Samsung phone because it will not translate special characters and you just don't want to use them. Go with something that looks kind of boring, but at least it'll get through the algorithm. The more times you mention a skill, the higher proficiency level you are assumed to have. Words in the headline have the highest value of anything you've got in your profile. Locations, metropolitan areas come up higher than single cities do and come up way higher than countries do. Only skills with an endorsement in the skill section can be seen by the LinkedIn algorithm when they are conducting a search. And your open to work ages Every 2 months, you need to turn off that hashtag open to work and open it up again so it has a new date stamp on it. It's like a light switch. You can turn it off, turn it back on again. You don't need to wait any time, but that does age and become less effective. It assumes that after a while, you probably have found a job and you just forgot to turn that off. Huh. Turn it off yourself and replace it every 2 months. And if you're seeing that your analytics are not showing that you're appearing in searches or that people aren't coming onto your profile, change your headline and change the first paragraph of the About section. And about every 2 months, you probably need to do that anyway. The headline area is so important that any time that you change that, LinkedIn gives you a boost because it assumes that you've done something that is more interesting, identifies you more clearly, you found more powerful words to put in there, and it will give you a boost every time that you change your headline, even if you're just switching out a phrase. Now, recruiters are looking at that profile with a human eye, and having a background picture or a quote is going to be more comfortable for them, more welcoming. Have that headshot that you're looking friendly in. Provide that headline area that is interesting and has a lot of value statement in it. The About section, those first 4 lines, most important part of it because you're trying to entice people into opening up and reading more about you. Make the About section readable with short paragraphs. Technical skills generally come before soft skills and managerial skills. Top 2 skills in your skills section are the ones that appear on your profile page. They should be your superpowers. And skills should be listed in the order of importance. You're allowed to change them so that you're able to highlight the ones that you think are most important for that next role that you're looking for. And just
Can
some
I ask
general,
another quick question, please?
you bet.
I don't want to forget it. So if I heard you correctly a couple of slides ago, you said don't use any special characters in your About section. So then, is that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay. So then if we list our email address, it has a special character. So would it be better to list a phone number?
Oh, there are no special characters in a email address. That @ symbol is on your keyboard. So as
Okay,
long as
perfect.
it's on your keyboard, you can use it.
Perfect. That's the clarification I needed. Thank you so much.
There you go. Just don't put in happy faces instead of the black bullet points that you would have for your paragraphs. Good questions. What else? Okay,
Anybody
back
else
to
have
you,
a
Jeff.
question? All right, well, there'll be a few more slides. We'll get out of here. If you want to connect with Ruth, here is one of her profile pictures. She changes it every couple months, so I'm not sure which one is the most current one right now, but you're welcome to reach out to Ruth. Let her know that you heard her presentation here.
Yeah, that was my background for Earth Day. I've changed it. It's September now, so I'm moving into more of my fall backgrounds. I change them every month.
Okay. Next week, since we have 4 speakers who talk about LinkedIn and there's 5 Tuesdays this month, I'm going to jump in next Tuesday and talk about LinkedIn, present yourself like a pro. So you can join us next Tuesday and listen to Jeff's pet peeves on LinkedIn. Tomorrow, the practice interview team is meeting in person. If you live in the DFW area, you can join the pit crew at the Christ United Methodist Church at Coit and Parker in Plano. They meet in person on the first, second, third, and fifth Wednesdays. On the fourth Wednesday of the month, they will be meeting online. I know they had over 70 people online last month when they were online, but I'll announce that so you know what's going on. If you're not in the DFW area, we recommend you still get some interviewing education. We're recommending this week session number 6 of 13. Interview openings, closings, and follow up. how to start and end the interview, and how you should do that. So if you got the email this week, you've got the link for that. If you did not have the email, just go to the CareerUSA .org website and look where it says Interview Wednesdays. Click on that and it will show you the link for that particular day, and you can watch that video at your convenience. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, we have a really interesting presentation. Nikki Duncan, who is a job seeker herself, is going to be talking about scripting, recording, and posting a video. She worked with Michael Wilk, who happens to be on he's spectator today. And Nikki worked with Michael, and they came up with a script, recorded it, and posting. And Nikki will take us step by step on how she did that and actually posted it on LinkedIn. And Michael's going to share what kind of feedback he's getting since it's been online. You're welcome to join the Career@FW LinkedIn groups or the CareerUSA.org LinkedIn group. I started both of them when we started the website. Today, we just passed 16,000 members in the Career@DFW LinkedIn group. You do not need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join that group, but you do need to have a mostly complete profile. I will look at your profile, and if it's not mostly complete, why are you on LinkedIn? This session has been recorded. It will be on the CareerUSA YouTube channel later this afternoon. You'll come to subscribe to the channel, and that way when we post a new video, you'll find out all about it. On the CareerUSA YouTube channel, click on playlist and then pick the list you want to look at. There's 7 different lists that are listed. Click on LinkedIn, go down to the bottom where it says view full playlist. And when you do that, up will come a list in chronological order by date, the speaker, and what their topic was. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, you're welcome to join the CareerUSA mailing list. You can just scan this QR code and send a blank email, or just send a blank email to CareerUSA, the + subscribe at groups.io. You'll never be spammed because I control the email list. But you will find out on a weekly basis what workshops we're putting on. Please note, Career@FW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. All of our speakers are volunteer. Ruth is volunteer. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 15 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Ruth, thank you again for your great presentation. And for everybody else, hopefully we'll see you at the Pitt Kruger this Friday at the North Dallas group.
Thanks, Ruth.